So let me welcome Waziri, who will then welcome the former governor and the chair of the KRA. Then from there, we will give questions to members to ask. Tuendelea hivyo hivyo. Karibu Nyang.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, first I want to take this opportunity to thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to address Bunge la Wananchi. Bunge la Wananchi, oi! I hope I have not breached any standing orders of this Bunge la Wananchi. I must admit that today is my first time to stand here. So many years back I used to pass through Jivanji Garden, but this is the first time that I'm addressing fellow Kenyans at this venue. We are here with me is the chairman of Kenya Revenue Authority, the Honorable Nderitu Mureithi, who is also the immediate former governor for Laikipia County, who is also my friend. We worked with him in Azimio Economic Council. He was my chairman in Azimio Economic Council, where we were four of us. So we are people who have worked previously. So I know this is lunchtime and you have sacrificed to be here to engage in this discussion. And I want to straight away take this opportunity to take about not more than 10 minutes, Mr. Speaker, if you allow me, to give synopsis and general overview why we are here. And then I will also invite my colleague, whom I'm sure will take slightly less than the time I will take. Then after that, we'll open it up for questions. Why I say that, actually we came to listen more than to talk. And I want to start away by saying that the positions that we hold are delegated positions. We are here courtesy of the people of Kenya. We have been given delegated authority. If it were possible, all Kenyans would be at the National Treasury signing documents and approving budgets or preparing budgets. But because it is not possible, a few of us would be privileged enough, courtesy of the people of Kenya, to sit in those offices. When we sit in those offices, therefore, duty calls on us to be accountable to the people of Kenya. Remember last year, we went through in this country something we have never experienced before. We almost had a civil unrest in this country. Why? Because there was perception among Kenyans that they were not being listened to, that nobody was prepared to give them a listening ear. We must do things differently. We must learn. We have learned. I have learned as the Cabinet Secretary in charge of National Treasury. That is why I have come here to engage with you early enough when the budgeting process is still at its very early stages, so that I can also hear from you a few things. Number one is what the Kenyans consider as priority in their lives. That is very important for us to inform the budgeting process. Number two is what are some of the challenges, especially in terms of taxation and tax measures. When you talk to Kenyans now, what is in the lips of everybody is that we are being overtaxed, and that the resources that we give the government, we don't see the value, that services are not being rendered. I want to engage you today to listen and hear from you. Apart from the challenges, apart from the problems, what do you believe would be the solutions to some of the challenges that we face as a country? Let me just take 2 or 3 minutes to break down a few things. When this government took over in 2022, there were a lot of challenges. One of them, and which is very critical, is the issue of public debt and debt servicing costs. This government took over at a time when budget deficit, as per the budget estimates of 2022-23, was 925 billion shillings, which is almost $1 trillion. Imagine an economy like Kenya borrowing a quarter of its budget every year to finance its activities. Number two, This government took over when already the government was showing signs of defaulting in paying Eurobond. I'm sure you are aware of this, which almost caused economic meltdown in this country. The shilling traded to 160 per dollar because of the signals that was sent to the economy that the government was going to default. And so, and the window had been closed at that time. So that default, even though we avoided it, we must make sure, because going forward, some of you have heard me mention that Kenya, we will only have a breathing space between 2034 and 2048. Why do I say so? Because in 2027, there is going to be a Eurobond of 900 million to be paid in May, on May 22nd. That is the deadline. The following year, 2028, in February, 9 months later, we are paying another Eurobond, 1 billion, which was taken so many years back. Then, that is 2028. 2029 is 1.2. Then 2031, we have 1.5. And then 2034, we have another 1.2. So the only time that we don't have Eurobond to repay is between 2034 and 2048. As a country, if we are responsible in managing our finances, we cannot wait until 2027 to be able to retire or pay some of these debts. If we do so, it will send a wrong signal to the economy, and we will be back to where we were early last year. Let me mention the second thing. The second thing is, where are we now? Are we doing okay? The answer is no. We are not doing okay, but we are better than yesterday. Why do I say we are better than yesterday? There is this rating that has come out from the Moody's. Some people think ni mushene. This is not mushene. This is factual. But how was this informed? The credit rating is all about the ability of a country to repay its debts. And that can only be assessed from certain parameters, from certain fundamentals. The key fundamental is inflation rate. Our inflation rate has showed signs of coming down. It was 9.6 in October 2022. The prices were increasing. That is what we call inflation. The prices were increasing at the rate of 9.6%. That has come down now to 3.3%. That has given a good indicator to the market. The second one, and I want to move very quickly. The second one is, how does government borrow? What is the rate of interest? Remember, just a few months ago when I took over office, we were borrowing at 15.6%. The government was borrowing through treasury bills, the 91-day treasury bill. We were paying 15.6%. Today, as we speak, that has come down to 9.5%, below 10%, single digit for the first time. That has given good indicators that we can be able to borrow money cheaply to retire expensive loans. Because what we are doing with the domestic borrowing is we are borrowing to repay what we had. So if you are borrowing cheaply to repay an expensive loan, that is the only way you can get out of debt trap. Even at home, if you want to come out of debt, ile fuliza, tuanze na Shylock, kabla tujaenda fuliza. If you have a Shylock of 30%, you go for fuliza, isn't it? Say fuliza charges you 12%. If you find a friend who can give you the same amount, and you only pay 5%, you will borrow that and pay fuliza. That is how domestic borrowing works. Finally, is the issue of foreign exchange. For us to pay loan, external loan, we must pay it in dollars and other hard currencies. So a country must demonstrate that they have enough reserves to pay any loan should it fall due. Now, Kenya for a long time has had only 2 billion, 3 billion US dollars. 2 billion, 3 billion, which is just 1 month cover of imports. Because for us to buy imports, we must pay in hard currency. Right now, we have in the central bank reserves of 9.5 billion USD, which would cover our imports for 4 months, 4.9 months. That's almost 5 months. Now, as I conclude, someone will ask, Mbadi, you are telling us all this. The shilling is stable, yes. All these things you are telling us. Moody has rated you positively. Where is money in my pocket? I know that was going to come up here. Mr. Speaker, if I still have a few minutes, maybe 2 or 3, then I call my colleague. It is true that Kenyans are struggling. It is true that economic times are difficult. Even though this government has done something positive in the area of agriculture by encouraging production. Today, we are producing 61 million bags of maize. That is what we produced in 2023, up from 30 million bags a year before. That is double. And we are projecting maize production to be at 74 million bags. That is what would satisfy the population of this country. But even with all that, Kenyans are still feeling they don't have money in their pockets. One of the reasons, there are 3 reasons that I will talk about, and what we are intending to deal with those 3 problems. Problem number 1 is the simple reason that because banks have not been able to give money to the private sector cheaply, private sector has not been borrowing money from the banks to expand their businesses, to create job opportunities. So many of our youth, that is why we have now today 3.4 million Kenyans who are supposed to be working are not working. This is because businesses are not expanding. The government has been borrowing money expensively, and therefore banks also loan money to private sector even more expensively. You have started seeing banks lowering interest rates because of the deliberate efforts taken by government to reduce government borrowing and reduce interest rates so that private sector can borrow money, create job opportunities for many of you. You see, you may be earning the same salary, 100,000. But if your sister is unemployed, your brother is unemployed, they will all depend on your 100 shilling. You will not see money in your pocket. The money may not have disappeared from your pocket. It's still there. It is still the same 100. But the mouth it is feeding is a lot. Therefore, we must make sure that we create space for employment for more people so that we have more income. Number 2 is the issue of salaries. We brought SHA, we brought housing levy. Is that not correct? It shrunk your pay slips. But there are efforts that we are making to make sure that you don't earn too low before the introduction of SHA and before the introduction of housing levy. Today, when I appeared before national television, I said with the amendments that we did in December, which some people were opposing, it has provided some relief, maybe not 100%, but we have moved towards reducing the burden, the tax burden on your pay slips. So when you are told that there is no effort, it is not true. How I wish some of you could just take a calculator and calculate if you are earning 100,000 shillings. Before the amendments that we brought to Parliament, that 100,000 shillings, 4.25% was going to SHA and housing levy, which is 4,250. Now, with the amendments, that amount, the whole of it is not going to government. Because even if you earned that money, 30% was going to be taxed anyway. Today we are saying, if you contribute to SHA and you contribute to housing, the 4,250, it gives you tax relief of 30%. So what you are actually effectively paying is 70% of 4,250, which is 2,975. Now before SHA, there was NHIF, and you were paying 1,700 if you are earning 100,000. So if you remove that from 2,975, you remove 1,700, you remain with 1,275. So someone who is earning 100,000, the only amount you are losing now, which you are not losing before this administration came to power, is 1,275. I am not saying that that is not money. It is. But it is not as big as some people are trying to portray. Because of the amendments we brought. We also brought amendments that if now you retire or you are laid off and you are given your gratuity, it should not be taxed. Now you take your money and go home. Pension is now not taxable. even if you retire, so long as you retire procedurally, money that you contribute to the health insurance scheme, post-retirement scheme, is also now giving you relief. So there are so many things we are trying to do, and we will do more. Finally, the other reason why Kenyans are complaining is because you supply goods to government and they are not paid. What is called the pending bills. We subjected the pending bills, and this is not the first time we have subjected pending bills in this country, to a committee. We have always created committees. For me and the government, we have decided that this time we are going to act on the pending bills that will be certified by that pending bills committee. The total amount that went to the pending bills committee was 663 billion shillings. They have already analyzed 474 billion shillings worth of bills. Out of that, they have approved for payment 206 million worth of pending bills. I have since, together with my team, analyzed that data. And listen to this. 95% of those invoices, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 95% of the applied goods and services to government of not more than 10 million shillings. From 1 shilling to 10 million. These are small businesses. These are MSMEs. Therefore, we have taken a decision as a government. The president has instructed me that we are going to make sure that we try through the supplementary budget to create space for anybody who supplied anything to government and has not been paid up to 10 million. We pay all of them. These are small people. These are small businesses. So we want to pay all the people who have supplied up to 10 million. Then now the remaining amount, we will have to plan and prepare in the next budget how to pay off the pending bills. So those are the efforts. I wanted just to assure you and assure fellow Kenyans, as I listen to you when you are making your deliberations, that we have not reached where we want to be. But we are making deliberate efforts. Tunajaribu sana. Tumeweka mikakati, ninajaribu. And I'm being transparent and open. Long gone are days when cabinet secretary would only be for finance, would only be seen with a briefcase going to parliament to read budget speech. We must engage more. Please give me and open the door for me to engage with you. I may not be perfect, but I will be listening. Give me ideas that you think can help this economy move forward. It is a collective responsibility. I cannot do it alone. I earn, yes, 1 million, but I work for people who, some of them earn nothing. And I want to listen to those people who earn nothing. Let me tell you, this country has challenges. Recently I was in Tana River. And in Tana River, I saw something I never believed, even though I also come from a marginalized area. Remember, since independence to date, the children of Oromo, or Orma, Pokomo, crossing the river to school, have been eaten by crocodiles for all these years just because Kenya government could not commit 100 million shillings to put up a bridge. Yet, we steal monies every day in government offices, worth billions of shillings. It is unfair, it is unjust. We must look for ways of making sure that the whole of this country, whatever little resources we have, it is spread equally in the country to attend to our needs. All of us pay taxes, whether you are a Pokomo, whether you are a Bukusu, or whether you are a Kikuyu or a Luo. All of us pay taxes. We deserve to get services. And that is why I'm here. And this assembly has people from all ethnic communities. Let us speak openly. Let us respect each other. I respect any opinion, however you put it. Just tell me what you think. Even if you think badi ninafanya kazi bure sana, National Treasury, tell me so that I may consider whether to resign or to continue with my work. Otherwise, let me take this opportunity and invite Governor Muridi to come and give us. He is going to focus a little bit on revenue collection. Yes. Yeah, I want him to be more strategic and focus there. Then now we open it up to you to give your views. Then we will again respond. I can't just disappear without responding. Sawa sawa. Asante.
Asante sana. Asante sana waziri. Asante sana waziri. Bwana Speaker, Yetu President, President wa bunge la wananchi, kiongozi wa mpinzani wa bunge la wananchi. Jina langu ni Nderitu Muriithi. Bwana Speaker, vile Cabinet Secretary wangu amesema tayari, nitalenga mambo ya ushuru. Bwana Speaker, utaniruhusu Kiswahili kinichanganya, naongeza mpaka Kizungu. Thank you Mr. Speaker. Vile waziri alisema, tumekuwa tukihudumu na yeye katika Azimio Economic Council. Nilikuwa mwenyekiti na yeye akawa memba yangu. Vile mambo yakaendelea, yeye akakuwa waziri wa fedha, sio? Nafikiria wadosi wakamuuliza nani anaelewa mambo ya revenue. Kasema kuna mjamaa mmoja anaitwa Nderi. Basi ndio nikajipata niko hapa. Bunge la wananchi oye. Asanteni. Waziri akanieleza hivi. Wakenya wako na bidii sana. Hata ukiangalia wakati wa COVID, Wakenya kweli waliweka bidii na wakatoa ushuru mpaka target iliyokuwa imewekwa wakati huo wa COVID. Akanieleza Wakenya wanaweka bidii hata wakati unaona tunakorogana. Unaona bado Wakenya ni watiifu, wanafanya juhudi, responsibility yao. Kwa mfano ukiangalia hata hii huduma namba, utaona okay, tulikuwa vuta ni kuvute kidogo, lakini takriban Wakenya milioni 35 wakajiwasilisha. Ukaona hata hii mambo ya health insurance ambaye kidogo tena tukawa na vuta ni kuvute, utakuta pia takriban Wakenya milioni 18.8 wamejiwasilisha. Kwa hivyo waziri akanieleza, nataka uone kwamba Wakenya, niseme kwa kimombo kidogo, Kenyans, the vast majority of Kenyans pay tax or comply voluntarily. Sio lazima ati hata uwakumbushe, they do it voluntarily. Mujipigie makofi wa Kenya wenzangu. That is the vast majority of Kenyans. Kunao wachache ambao pengine inafaa uwakumbushe, particularly if you make it easier for them to pay. Na kuna idadi ndogo zaidi, maybe 1% or less, ambao wanasema tuwatafute. So kwa hivyo waziri akaniambia, huwezi kuwa na strategy moja kwa hawa Wakenya wote. Wakenya wengi wanataka kulipa ushuru, taking their responsibility seriously. Kwa hivyo juhudi ya shirika la KRA is to make it easy to simplify taxation. Make it easy for the citizen to pay. Mnakubaliana na sisi tufanye hivyo? La pili, na kwa sababu tumekuwa na waziri bunge kuanzia bunge la 10 nafikiria. Yeah, from about 10th parliament. Now, yes, the thing is Kenyans, bunge la wananchi. I tell you, the most honorable thing is when a country is able to finance itself. That is the most honorable thing. Self-reliance is a true, I would say, measure of patriotism. Na waziri wangu tayari amesema, kwa hivyo sina haja ati nirudie. But when he asked me, nenda kazi, it is that sisi wa Kenya, we value kuweza kujitegemea kama wa Kenya, kuendesha maendeleo yetu. Sio lazima ati kila wakati waziri au rais ama wakuu wengine wa serikali lazima watembee duniani kutafuta kuomba. Sio? So the value of a self-funding nation as our source of pride as Kenyans. So, waziri na wakuu wengine mpaka rais mwenyewe wakanieleza hivi. Ukiangalia vile waziri amesema wale wako na payslip, tuseme wakiwa wengi sana ni takriban 3 milioni. Kwa hivyo waziri akanieleza, jameni, lazima tuwe na mpangilio mwafaka wa kuhakikisha kwamba Wakenya wengi iwezekanavyo wanashiriki kufanya nini? Kulipa ushuru. Hiyo ndio tunasema kwa kimombo expansion of tax base. Sasa swali ni, njia ni ipi? Which is the way of expanding the tax base? Now, zamani ukifikiria kizamani kulikuwa kwamba formal and informal sector. Lakini in today's economy we must move beyond the idea of formal or informal. What we should look at is Kenyans in the way they are doing their businesses and make it easy for all of them kushiriki katika ujenzi wa taifa. Kwa hivyo shirika letu la KRA mambo mawili. Mwanzo, umesikia tayari that we are moving from a revenue, an authority to a service organization. Kwa sababu tunataka wewe kama customer wetu, we must be focused on your needs and how to make it easier for you to undertake your responsibility of building Kenya. That is why tunalenga kutumia teknolojia. That the way to make it easy for you, sio kwamba ukuje upige mstari. La, ni kwamba wakati wowote ukiwa na juhudi fulani unahitaji kutekeleza, you can use technology and that should be sufficient without requiring you to do manual systems kama zamani. Kwa hivyo yale ndiyo tunalenga. Nimalize nikisema hivi. Obviously, tukiwa Wakenya wengi ambaye tunashiriki, ile Mkenya mmoja anaulizwa alipe, si itafanya nini? Itapungua. Bunge la wananchi oye. Bunge mashinani. Nguvu mashinani. Bunge la wananchi. Nguvu mashinani. Nauliza hivi, ikiwa sisi zote wa Kenya tunashiriki, si ile rate tunalipishwa mmoja wetu itapungua? Si itapungua? Basi, na hiyo ndio utaratibu tungependa tuendelee nayo. Mimi tutakuwa hapa na waziri, tuwasikize, mtuongeze mawaidha, mtuulize maswali. Waziri vile amesema, hata kama pengine mnaona kuna mahali kashida, mnasema. Wajua rais wa zamani alikuwa anasema hivyo, mnasema. Kwa hivyo basi, tuzungumze kwa pamoja. Asanteni sana. Shukran, Bwana Speaker.
Thank you very much. I think so far so good. We are in the right trajectory in discussing the issues of today and especially the finance bill. Now we will open the floor for questions. I will commence by inviting the Secretary General of Bunge la Wananchi and the custodian, Issa Bakari, to pose your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mimi ningependa kuuliza Bwana Waziri, as far as public participation is concerned, tungependa kujua ni mikakati gani ambapo mumeweka so that the common mwananchi hapa chini yeye pia anaweza kuwa na usemi na